What is going on, everybody? It's Josh.
And Josh.
It's Lane.
And Alex.
And we are here to talk about House of the Dragon episodes 3 and 4. You guys should go check out our previous episode talking about episodes 1 and 2. And now we're talking about 3 and 4. And I'm excited to get into it. Before we get into it, though, you guys already know, go follow our Instagram, JoshandJoshMusic. This video is sponsored by Josh and Josh. I know you hear the music in the background. And make sure to go give us a listen at joshandjosh.bandcamp.com. That will be in the link below on our YouTube, Instagram, all that good stuff. But yes, today we are talking about episodes 3 and 4 of House of the Dragon. We're going to talk about the 10 biggest plot points in each episode. And we'll just basically go from there. So yeah, let's get right into it. So episode 3 opens up with the blacks and the greens kind of like meeting. It's actually Daemon and Ormond, and what it says is Daemon confronts Ormond Hightower in a tense cold open where the greens use a decoy claiming to represent Daeron Targaryen, who Daeron is the youngest Hightower of Alicent's kids, but that's because we haven't really seen him throughout the whole show, so we really don't know what he looks like. So they ended up presenting him in front of Daemon as like a kind of a peace deal, like we won't kill you, but we're gonna give you for Daeron, and we'll go about our business. Nobody has to die today. And then he was like, "You're really gonna do that? You're gonna give us Daeron?" Like, okay, cool, whatever. And that's basically what happens being in the episode. But people were kind of shook. They're like, "He's really giving up the youngest prince that quote unquote can be in line to the throne, but the blacks are on the throne." So just a whole bunch of trouble, a whole bunch of mess that is going to get into it later in the episode. But thought that was really interesting because that's our first look kind of at how Ormond does things, and how he is a trickster and how he likes to mess with people. And very evil man, very, very evil man. But I thought it was really interesting being the first thing we saw was them willing to give up Daeron. Now we know it was fake, but we'll talk about it later in the episode. But all right, and that transitions into the second plot point with Rhaenyra, going back to her because she's back in King's Landing, right?
Yeah, that's Rhaena, right? Or Rhaenyra? Is that Rhaenyra?
It's Rhaenyra.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, it says her. That ain't really that important. Okay, and then after that, Rhaenyra, when she's back at the King's Landing, the Queen and stuff, she discovers that the royal treasury is completely empty. And the crown's gold was hidden away by the Lannisters.
That's huge.
And at this point in time, from episode 1, remember the Lannister, he got knocked off the boat, so he's assumed to be dead. Or, he's presumed to be dead so at this time. So this is major T to the rest of the series. Because Rhaenyra didn't have money, and a lot of people need money for the kingdoms to survive, is going to run into a lot of issues moving forward. So that was a very small but pivotal point to the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm, very. And then kind of the next one, it kind of goes into tail with her discovering the royal treasury. It says the small council learns Jasper Wilde, who was in King's Landing at the time, they found out he's dead. And like he said, the gold reserves are very, very low, and they can only cover them for a few weeks. But they don't know what happened to the gold, but we as the audience know the Lannisters hid it, as a chess piece, as a move in the game, because they know, we'll get into this a little bit later, but you can't run King's Landing without any money, it's not going to end well for anybody in that scenario. So, it was a crazy chess move, but like he says, it pertains for the rest of the series. Like that one move right there does not help Team Black at all whatsoever.
So this part is T. Rhaenyra decides to demand a heavy tribute from the great houses to fund her formal coronation. So in regular speak, this is like the highborn. They're not the royal people, which is the Targaryens. They're not blonde hair, but they're the richest people other than that. So she was like, she's gonna eat the money from them. These people don't give money like that. So how she takes is gonna be something else.
I was looking at the wrong one. This next one, it's been a minute since we watched episode 3, so I'm trying to remember everything that happens. But the next big plot point kind of goes in together. It says a recurring audio drone and a rat burrowing near the Iron Throne mirror Rhaenyra's mounting stress and declining sleep. So I think that's basically just kind of showing us, and since she took the throne at the end of episode 2, it's a lot of stress and it's a lot of worry. She thought it was going to be a little bit easier than what it actually is, but like you said, when you don't have money, you don't have the support of a lot of people around you, it is hard to rule Westeros, and do it kindly, because Rhaenyra doesn't want to be mean, she doesn't want to kill people, but people don't respect her already because she's a woman,
She wants to lead like the series.
And she comes to find out rather quickly that it's going to be way different than she thought it was going to be, and she's going to have to do some major changes if she wants to keep this throne, and she wants to be respected by not only the people in King's Landing, but the higher ups, and then also her council that will be formed. It's a whole bunch of different things that she has to think about that she wasn't thinking about, and that kind of takes a toll on her throughout the rest of season 3. But the next big thing was, so this whole time, Alicent and Helena are in King's Landing as well. They're kind of like prisoners, but they're not really prisoners, but they are because they're locked away and they can only go to the God's Wood, like once a day, and they got to go back to the room. But yeah, they're basically prisoners of Team Green. But Rhaenyra confronts Alicent and Helena about the answers regarding the missing funds, and she's like, where is it? And Alicent's like, I've been here this whole time, like I didn't do nothing, and don't ask Helena because they hate her anyways, so it's not like we know anything. And that further kind of just pisses off Rhaenyra because she's like, where's this money? Like I can't rule King's Landing without money, like what do you guys want me to do? And she basically gets no help from Alicent and Helena, who, is it this episode or it might be next episode, that they're trying to plot an escape, but they're not having any luck with that. But I think that's later in the next episode. But yeah, she basically just confronts them. It's a really interesting dialogue because you can tell they want to be friends, but Rhaenyra's like, you're no help to me, like I can't talk to you. She just leaves.
You say the next point and I'll say the one after that.
Gotcha. Massaria, who as we've seen throughout the show, is Rhaenyra's kind of like right hand, best confidant. But what Massaria does, she exerts a deeper influence in King's Landing by forming a new small council and steering populist actions. And we kind of saw this. He actually brought it up. He was like, she went from wearing like raggedy rags, and she just pops up wearing these like really nice white outfits and like earrings and a bunch of jewelry, and people are like, where'd you get that? How you stepping up? But it's because she's making these, like, I wouldn't say connections, but she's kind of making small moves on behalf of Rhaenyra, trying to favor herself more in Rhaenyra's council and her judgments of what she wants to do. Because a big rift this season is Massaria and Daemon. They used to be together, but now they button heads, and they want Rhaenyra in their corner, but Rhaenyra has to choose who she's ultimately going to decide to be with at the end of the day. And we'll talk about it later. But very interesting because Massaria has been working behind the scenes a lot throughout the season. Just how bald dude from Game of Thrones was working behind the scenes, with his little whispers and his kids. Kind of the same character, but very different, But yeah, that was pretty much
that. But yes, this next point, this is the highlight of the episode. So Rhaenyra hosts a controversial rat banquet, feeding the hosts to the feeding extra provisions to the small folk while serving grim fare to the nobles. So what she ended up doing was she sat them all down, and everybody's dinner had covering. And this is like the highborn. Like I said, they're not the Targaryens, but they're very rich, and they all had plate coverings. And so Rhaenyra, she said, "Here's your food." And then they took the plate coverings off, or they brought them the food, one or the other, and then they were like, it was rats. She was like, this is what the small folk are eating, because basically what had happened was those people in this whole time where Rhaenyra cut off trade from coming into King's Landing to be able to take King's Landing, there has been lack of food, and so the middle class basically bought up all the food, leaving the poor class with nothing. They can't even buy anything or barter or do anything. They're just poor. And so Rhaenyra got her get back, and then at the end of the episode, she gave away the food to the small folk. But it was a good win for that moment, but it was an ultimate loss overall because you made the middle class mad. Now you only have the food that you got from them, and you don't have any other money. And then once they got all their food and they're going to be hungry again, you have nothing else.
You have nothing to give them because you already gave what little you had. And it's like you said, it was a good good thing in the moment, but this sets up for even more people to be upset and mad at her for the decisions she's making and how she's ruling and stuff like that. But and then the end of the episode, Rhaenyra, she says she plans to dispatch Daemon toward the Vale, risking a split in the strategy and leadership, because a lot of people didn't want her to do that. They want him to stay in King's Landing and guard King's Landing, or they want to go after Tumbleton, right? They've been wanting to go after Tumbleton since the second episode, but they're like, nah, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. We're not going to kill people. We're not going to do that. And that's basically how the episode ends, is him going to the Vale. Because also, this was T. The reason why she wants Daemon to go to the Vale, because when Jacaerys died at the end of episode 1, he was obviously killed by a sheep stealer, and they don't know who is riding sheep stealer. We know who's riding sheep stealer, but Rhaenyra and Daemon and Team Black, they have no idea. They just think it's some random dragon rider, and she basically tells Daemon, go find this person and kill them because they killed my son. And he's like, okay, I'll do it. And that's basically how the episode ends. Like, he's gonna go to the Vale, and kind of just a real slow episode. You know, wasn't anything too major happen. I said, like he said, the biggest thing that happened was that rat banquet and her pissing off all the high and noble people. You know, but it's what you got to do. You got no money. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. Honestly, Time Wars Weird is so good. So, let's move on to episode 4, y'all. Pod said, episode 4!
Do you want to start it?
Yeah, I'll say the first one.
Okay.
So, in episode 4, Rhaenyra's small council. Rhaenyra builds her council by keeping Grand Maester Orwell for practical advice and appointing Sir Tohin Manderly as Master of Coin to absorb upcoming financial blame, which he will. And basically, the tea is, not to say too much, but this is also, you have to pay attention to the details. This is them setting up the seeds that Rhaenyra is not really fit to be basically the head leader. Now, I'm not talking about king or queen, but I'm talking about, we watch in season 1, 2, the way Otto Hightower, they have the little balls. They move the balls in particular order. When somebody speaks, they do the balls. Rhaenyra says, we don't do that here. So everybody's speaking all over each other. People are just talking.
Yeah, it's kind of all over the place.
Two people are talking to the side, and it's just not together. And all Rhaenyra ever was a cupbearer. So though she did get to see the meetings, she never got to be in a position of power as a child, or as a teenager, to see how they're supposed to run council. And think about when Rhaenyra actually was there to see council being run as an adult. She then eventually left to go to Dragonstone because she couldn't stand being there with Alicent and those kids. So basically, in the primitive time for her to understand how to really run the thing, she was away. Now she comes back and she doesn't know how to run a council. She doesn't know that order that she said that wasn't important. She doesn't want to be like her father is very important. And they had an order for a reason. And yeah, so this is just a setup for it all going downhill.
Yep. And then that transitions us into the next, probably biggest plot of the episode, and that's Corlys leaving King's Landing. And it says he leaves, so Lord Corlys departs King's Landing to fight the Triarchy, frustrated by Rhaenyra's refusal to legitimize his sons. So at the beginning of this episode, Corlys is like, I have nothing left, you know, like, I don't have anything after me. I need to legitimize my 2 sons, Adam and Alan, you know. And he actually just wants to do Adam because Alan's already has the dragon, you know, so he's already doing his thing. But he's like, I want you to solidify Adam because he's going to be my successor and he's going to lead, you know, the Valerians and my ship fleet when I'm no longer here. But Rhaenyra doesn't want to do that because she thinks it sends a bad message throughout the realm, her legitimizing bastards. And he goes off on her. He says, your sons are bastards. All your, you bastard. He basically just going off on her. And it was kind of crazy. Like, he was talking to Rhaenyra, the queen, crazy. But you kind of understand, you're like, you had no problem sleeping with some random dude and having your sons be your successors, but they're just as bastards as my sons are. So why would you legitimize your sons but not mine?
But you have to add on top of that, her sons that died were, well, one of them was the head of the, what's his thing called? The high tides, the tides.
The tide. I guess he was Lords of the Tides, or
he was literally Corlys's replacement. So he was like, I literally legitimize your bastard, and when I asked you to legitimize mine,
She couldn't do it.
She couldn't do it because, and I do understand they did end up calling her Queen of Bastards later on anyways, but it still was another bad move on Rhaenyra for he fought for you. He lost everything he had literally in 2 episodes ago. Fighting in your name and your honor, so I don't know. The next one after that is
So I was like, why is it wet? Okay.
Yeah, the next one is
they kind of go together, right?
Daemon. Oh, I guess. Let me just say the first one. Daemon finds Rhaena. So Rhaena come out looking all homely. Her hair all cut. She cut them locks.
It was bad.
She just looking terrible, looking homeless. Nobody looked homeless.
She looked like she was on coke.
She just looked
like
real
she
bad.
was bad.
So Daemon, he discovers Rhaena and the wild dragon sheep stealer hiding in the cave of the veil. He pulls up with his dragon.
Because Caraxes is like, I smell something. He's like, what you mean? And takes him to the cave and messy.
Yeah, so it's like at the end of the episode, Rhaenyra sent Daemon to go basically find out who was on Sheep Stealer and kill them. So when he finds out that it's his daughter, who he realized he is abandoned and not taken care of, that's why she looked abandoned. He felt bad, and so you want to mention how this goes into the deception part?
Oh yeah, it's basically obviously, he's not going to kill his daughter because that's his daughter, and she ends up flying away on Sheep Stealer, and it says the deception, and it's deception because Daemon ends up lying to Rhaenyra. He comes back. It says Rhaena refuses to leave Sheep Stealer because she feels like it's her dragon now, and it prompts Daemon to kill a random shepherd after she flies away, and he disfigures the body and falsely presents it to Rhaenyra as the dead rider who killed her son. And it was a really interesting moment because, you could tell that's all she wanted. She wanted to see the person's face, basically wanted him alive. Like, I want to see the person who killed my son, but the fact Daemon just killed him and burned the body. He's like, here's the head, and she's like, this is it? And he's like, yeah, that's it. She's like,
yeah.
She doesn't know how to feel about that. But come to find out, he lies to her because he's not going to kill Rhaena. Like, come on now, that's his second daughter.
Yeah.
But,
which is sad.
And it's sad he had to lie to her, but he looked at it as like a chess move. Like, as soon as she gets over this, we can focus on, ruling King's Landing, get over it, basically. Which sucked, but...
Yeah. So, okay, so the next thing goes is Tumbleton occupation. So, Tumbleton got overtaken by Lord Ormond Hightower. He sent about 15,000 troops into the local homes and populace to use as a shield against Rhaenyra, because he knows that Rhaenyra is following Viserys' way of leadership, and that's not to hurt the people. Because Rhaenyra even mentioned to Daemon, she was like, I don't want to rule burnt people and burnt and dead people. That's not what I want to do. So he knows that, and he calls her awful names. Patriarchy was even back then in this made up world. But anyways, yes.
Oh, and that kind of ties into, so when they go to Tumbleton, like he said, they send 15,000 troops in, basically just going to everyone's homes and saying, feed me, I'm sleeping here now, you guys have to cater to us because we're fighting for the crown, a bunch of BS, and that leads into more violence. So a soldier assaults a local woman who is the wife of Sir Hugh Hamner, who rides what's his dragon's name? Vermithor. Yeah. Basically gets attacked by these soldiers, and it triggers a melee attack that injures members of the household. And this is key because when this happens, obviously the soldier is brought to Ormond. He's brought to Ormond, and they're basically beat up her, tried to kill the wife, was beating up the Hugh Hamner's wife, her brother. They were basically like beating everybody up, but they took him to, I guess, the main building in Tumbleton where Ormond is, and Ormond basically in front of everybody looks to be like this noble guy, and does the right thing. He's like, we need to castrate this soldier for the things that he's done, give these people money, so they can get their crops. But what we actually find out is Ormond is basically just a part, like he's just playing it at the end of the episode, which he doesn't really say in this at the end of these like breakdowns, but he basically does a 180. Like, he says people to their face like, oh, you guys deserve justice. You know, we're not going to let these soldiers treat you like that. But then in the end of the episode, it ends up killing the uncle.
Well, I think that's in the next episode.
Really? It wasn't at the end of this one?
Mm-mm. Because remember, they go to the next episode and then they rank him up because that's how the next episode ends with the brother and the dragon. And the...
I thought that was a part of. Well, I guess maybe it is. Never mind. Oh yeah, we could just move on.
Okay. Okay, this part, Aemon goes missing. Kristen Cole arrives at Harrenhal only to find Alice Rivers discovering that Prince Aemon and Vhagar are missing. Anyways, yeah, so Aemon, basically, this is when the whole segment of Alice Rivers starts. As we've seen in the last season, they're building up a parallel between Daemon and Aemon. Those kind of rhyme. But remember, Daemon went through his whole series with Alice, and he went through a different way of conquering the castle, and now Aemon is doing the same thing. And then that's going to continue, so more things happen. And then this next one is Ormond's Fury. Receiving a disruptive raven from Gwaine, Ormond loses his calm demeanor and smashes the table in rage upon realize he is isolated. Because basically Christian Cole was supposed to meet them, and then they didn't end up meeting them, and then Dwayne... It's a whole mess between them two, and then Christian Cole, we end up finding later on Loki going on a death mission, and we don't know that at the time. This seems like Christian Cole's like fighting for his honor, which he technically is. He has nowhere else to go. Mm-hmm. He's from Dorne, like all he has is his honor, and he lost it. So
that was you did Ormond's Fury just that one. Oh, yeah. And then this happens throughout the next two episodes, but it's Aegon and Larys' journey. So they take a quick journey. Aegon and Larys travel to Rook's Rest, where Aegon interacts with the remains of his supposedly deceased dragon Sunfire, who's all burned up and stuff, and insists the dragon is still hanging on to life. But from what we see, it looks like the dragon is just dead. You know, it's like half melted, just sitting there, and he ends up taking a dragon scale, you know, because he wants something of that. But Aegon and Larys will be here for the next like episode and a half. So, and this is really the kind of turning point of Aegon's story in this season, you know, because we don't know it yet, but shit's about to hit the fan in the next two episodes, and it's just very interesting. But the guy who played Aegon did a really good job of playing this and being sorry for himself and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was interesting that we got to see Sunfire post battle, but it was crazy. She was like all burned and kind of like cremated into the ground. Like, it was crazy looking. You're like, man, there's no way that dragon's alive. And it was just really sad because he was like, Sunfire, I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm not dead. But you look dead. You know.
But he had a feeling. He said he's alive, even though like they have no proof, and they were the dragon was there. A dude, they're just charging people like a coin to touch the dragon for a minute.
Yeah.
So. And then the very last thing is just Otto's remains. Rhaenyra shows a rare touch of empathy by allowing Otto Hightower's body to be returned to Old Town for burial. So that just proves that Rhaenyra, because basically she is a good person. Short story short, in the book, because it's written as a history, Rhaenyra's whole thing is actually quite short. It's not as long. That's the other things, and so it's more just told as like a timeline, a history line. This happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened. But what happens is, well, I don't want to tell you too much. We don't want to. That's how I always. But basically, Rhaenyra's stuff isn't written down as it should be. So the show basically goes into further detail about how it actually was. In the end, they will go and tell you how it's been told. When it gets to season 4, they will tell you how Rhaenyra's history is told in the history books. And they've already explained this in Game of Thrones. Joffrey already explained how Rhaenyra, what ends up happening to her. It's not a secret. Everything is heading down this road. But it's important to see that Rhaenyra actually does have a good heart. She's a good person. When she does snap, it's not due to her not being a good person. It's just she has to do what she got to do. And if she was a man who would say any horrible things about her, they, you know what I'm saying, men are allowed to be mean, harsh, and cruel, and they say that's normal. So, but when women do that, they're like,
they're not fit.
They're a horrible person. Have you noticed that, like, horror movies will place, like, what's the worst, like, a horror movie, who are they always scared of? An old woman. Like, that's the scariest thing in a horror movie is an old woman. Ah! Old women. We're terrified. Like, come on. That is just really crazy. But, yeah, y'all. But we got more stuff coming up. As we said, go to JoshandJosh.bandcamp.com. Go to our Instagram, JoshandJoshMusic. We got more music coming up. More things coming up. And everything. But until then, we got these videos. Like and subscribe. Papa, go ahead and tell the folks bye. Y'all like that rhyme?
I watched it. Y'all better go watch episode 3 and 4.
Yeah, so we're going to have 5 and 6 and then 7 and 8 because it's all the way over now. We'll have that coming out soon. And then, yeah, check out the stuff we already have. And then, Papa says he loves you.
He said, do I have to look at the camera?
Yeah. But until then, you got anything else to say?
Nope, that's pretty much it. Like you said, just be on the lookout for more videos and different stuff to talking about. Also, go check out the music. I know you heard it in the background. We'd really appreciate it. But until next time, guys, catch y'all later.
Ciao.